Welcome. I am so grateful you got to the mat today. We're going to begin lying down on our back body and coming into 3 breaths of awareness. As you come down onto your back, take a moment, wiggle around, make it organic, make a connection with your mat, with gravity. You might point and flex the feet, you might rotate the wrists, and when you are ready, please join me. Come into your 3 points of introversion, as I call it, bringing your awareness to look up and in behind your third eye. Lightly connect the tip of the tongue behind the front teeth at the roof of the mouth. And inviting you to add Ujjayi. This breath is a wonderful centering and steadying for our practice. Simply contract your throat a little bit and you'll create that valve for the whooshing sound of Ujjayi breath, ocean sounding breath, wind in the trees breath. And now please, with awareness, observe 3 breaths, rising and settling in your body. Inhaling and eventually witnessing the gap or pause, and then exhaling. Notice if your mind wanders from breath. It may do this many times, even in a brief practice. Draw your attention to breath once more, following the sensations of breath in your body. Planting your feet beneath the knees for bridge pose, beginning with the upper arms nice and tight to the rib cage and hands on the hip bones, or if you prefer, just fingers splayed towards the ceiling. Working the shoulder heads just a little beneath you for ease in the neck. Gathering a long inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhaling, draw your belly towards your spine to the floor, and use that as your impetus to curl the pelvis up off the floor into bridge. Witnessing the exhale, is there more? As the inhale begins, start to slowly lower your hips, really using the strength of your back body to control your descent. Witnessing the inhale, is there more? Exhale, press up. We're going to do this a few times. Inhaling slowly down. Exhaling slowly up. It's a wonderful warming and awakening for the back body, also releasing stored tension that we get from sitting too much or hunching over our focuses in life. The next time you're up, invitation to hold and to place the hands on the hip bones here for leg extensions. Slowly releasing one foot at a time to extend through the knee. Nice foot flexion. And slowly switching. If this is feeling like too much today, then instead work with just lifting one foot off the floor a little bit, what I call kind of a hovering. We're interested in noticing if one hip bone drops and perhaps we feel weak on the side, and then noticing what it takes to restabilize. Completing with knees to belly, a nice hug. We're going to come from here into happy baby. For many of us, clasping at the shins or ankles is easiest, and for some, we're able to clasp the big toe and have it feel great. What we're looking for is the anchoring of the shoulder heads down the back and the tilting of the tailbone towards the floor. Nice spinal connection with your mat. Drawing down the knees outside the ribs towards the mat. And gathering a willful breath here. Expand your belly, big Buddha belly towards the sky. Is there more? And then moving towards half straddle. So I'm going to take my hands behind my calf or around the ankle to give a level of support as I straighten one leg vigorously, the other heel coming towards the butt. And I want to give enough room for that extending leg to get fully straight. So if I need to, I slide my hand closer to the knee than the ankle. And here, organic movements like flexing and pointing, super useful. It's wonderful to release the tension on our legs and back body when they're not holding us, right? There's a freedom because they are not supporting our body weight. And bringing those legs in, we're going to plant the feet on the floor for reclined pigeon. Crossing the right ankle onto the left thigh, foot flexed, and bringing the whole deal towards the chest, if that's doable. If not, then the forefoot just remains and we work with hugging the right knee on its own. Once we're here, rotating slightly left should bring us into the treasure, as I think of it, that place that you feel you're getting a good massage into that right butt and hip. It might feel great to add the left hand onto the right foot for a little more engagement if you're not getting a deep enough stretch. And any little organic movements you can make right and left. Moving your knee a little away from your chest and towards. We're talking micro movements here. Deep breath. And when your massage on that side is complete, return the floor foot, uncross. Cross the left ankle to the right thigh and draw the whole deal towards the chest if possible, hugging deeply the left knee towards the chest. Possibly clasping the left foot with the right hand. Shoulder heads remain anchored, core is connected, so that I feel really safe as I rotate a little to the right. Is this side different? This is valuable. It tells us a lot about our body and what it may need from us as we move through life off of the yoga mat. Deep abdominal breath, taking the belly towards the thigh. Exhaling, draw the thigh towards the belly. And returning to center, uncrossing to create our horse stance, as I think of it. It's a bridge pose with the feet really wide, maybe right out at the edges of the mat or a little beyond. Upper arms tight to the side body, and I'm going to press the hips firmly towards the sky. Perhaps intertwining the fingers behind the back for Yoga Mudra. If this creates any neck discomfort today, just leave it out and return to the original arm position. Otherwise, see if you can wiggle the shoulder blades a little closer, working the pinkies towards the floor, fists towards the heels, and gathering a greedy breath into your belly and rising up into the rib cage. Is there more? Releasing the arms for support as you slowly come down. Feet stay where they are. And we begin a slow windshield wiper, as I think of it. So taking one knee towards the center line of the mat, and then the other. Noticing if they are different. And the next time your right knee is down, Take the right arm and sweep it towards the sky and then overhead behind you. Deepen your breath here. You might also press the right knee a little actively towards the floor if you're wanting more stretch. And slowly return to your neutral. And left knee comes down, left arm sweeps up. Curiously following breath with your attention, wondering, what's in my body today? What's there? What do I need to know? Perhaps pressing with that left knee a little more firmly and releasing back to your neutral. We're going to release the legs straight ahead of us into our corpse pose for some compression and expansion breathing. And if you'd like more awareness of what your breath mechanics are doing, you can bring attention there with your hands on your belly, chest, or bowl. Gather a long inhale through the nose, slow, deep, and wide, and exhaling firmly, slowly, draw the abdomen towards the spine, the low back towards the floor, as if there was something you wanted to squish there. Emptying, emptying. Is there more? And then relaxing, allowing the breath to flow up the spine and trying to expand it a little bit at the very end, the last little 5%, draw in. Where does that stretch you? Exhaling compression, emptying powerfully. It's like we're cleaning air out of an old air mattress. As you engage the core, be very soft in the neck. You can roll the head side to side to invite that release. Continue this, please, for a few more rounds with me. Inhaling expansion, sipping in a little extra at the very end of the in-breath. And exhaling, emptying deeply. This is a wonderful time to talk to your abdominal muscles where you think you might be the weakest. For many of us, it's those low abdominal muscles that we wish would be able to contract towards the spine and support those low vertebrae. So I often will poke here and say to those muscles, wake up, get involved. And telling the neck muscles to not be involved. A couple more here, noticing that you're moving from deep engagement, powerfully empty, to then a kind of passive receiving. When we're emptying, we're creating a vacuum that nature then fills all on its own. Isn't it great that we don't have to do everything? And after that last inhale is complete, just settle a moment and notice your body. Notice if you feel a little different than when you first arrived at the mat just a few minutes ago. Invitation to come into abdominal pumping. Some of us will find this more comfortable with the knees bent so that our lower back is kind of supported. If you prefer it in corpse pose, please do that. We're going to inhale, slow, deep, and wide. Exhale again, empty, just like we did in compression, but now hold the breath out. Do not breathe. With the breath held out, draw the belly in like you're saying, see how skinny I am? Then push to the sky. Until you need to breathe. This is a marvelous place to do sighing breaths, releasing any stagnant tension, emotional stresses from our center. Let's do that twice more. Inhaling, slow, deep, and wide. Exhaling, empty. Hold out, external breath block to begin your pumping. If you find it difficult to activate the abdomen in and out, again, use your hand as a frame of reference and even a little resistance. So on the drawing the belly towards the spine, I tell it I want to get away from the hand. And then I try to press it into the hand towards the ceiling. And releasing for your recovery breath, perhaps a sighing exhale. One more. And bringing knees to belly. You've done great work waking up both your breath center, your muscular center, and your emotional center. Invitation to come into spinal twist, either directly here laying down, coming into your embryo pose and opening up one arm to the sky to open that chest, or if you prefer, coming up into cross-legged for a seated spinal twist. It's just a nice alternative. If you're in spinal twist seated, we're going to be going back and forth. And if you're laying down, you might just hang out on each side a while. Inhaling, lengthening the spine. Exhaling, rotating to the right. Asking, is there more? Let the inhale return you to center. Exhaling, belly to spine to rotate to your left. Is there more? Inhaling brings you back to center. We'll do this a couple more times to your breath rhythm. And we're deeply interested in finding the gap or pause, that moment that's neither inhale nor exhale. Last round. And then as you return to center from either on your back body or seated, just pause and notice what your spinal twists have created. Often they're just a wonderful way of waking us up. And we're going to take that alertness into some movement. First, on our hands and knees, table pose. Intelligent hands, middle finger straight forward. Inhaling, drawing the heart forward into cow pose. The neck stays beautifully neutral, not compressed. Exhaling, rounding the back for cat back. Asking of the breath, is it time to move? Inhaling, cow pose. Getting that last sip of expansion, inhale to stretch the chest. And on your next cat back, using it to flow into your downward facing dog. Make sure the shoulder heads are anchored down the back. And send the hips up and back towards the wall ceiling behind you. And begin by just kind of making this organic. I think of it like how animals are so good at waking themselves up, stretching this way and that. There's no goal other than just moving out any dullness, any itchiness, any stress. Notice if downward facing dog today feels good with the feet wide, and what it's like to have them more in our classic position of just 5-6 inches apart, straight back. 3 sighing breaths here. If this has become too much, just moving into child's pose. I'll meet you there in a moment. Inhaling through the nose, your gaze is between the feet. Exhaling, sighing through the mouth. Working the heels towards the floor. Doesn't matter if they ever get there. Inhaling, expanding. Exhaling, sighing, deepening. relaxing into child's pose, take the knees wide, the toes towards each other, and press the butt back towards the heels. Extending the arms forward if they weren't already, and just walking them to the right, settling the forehead again if you can. And deep breath into that left side of the body. To shift to the other side, please lift the head and shoulders first for safe transition. And arms move over to the left, and I settle the head in again. Is this side different? Transform tension with your breath. Nice soft ujjayi throat contraction. Again, lifting the head and shoulders to transition. And rounding the back into cat back to bring the knees into neutral, directly under the shoulder or the hips again. And the hands are underneath the shoulders. So we're going to do a little pumping here. And I'm going to walk my hands actually forward about 6 inches of that table position. And as I inhale forward into my knees down, upward facing dog, I want to notice what's just right. I want the full weight of my body in the palm, not in the wrist. So if you're feeling it in the wrist, move those hands back a little bit. So on your inhale, allow the heart to draw forward, the hips kind of sweeping down a little bit, still a nice glute contraction. Exhale, belly draws back to take you into child's pose, arms staying exactly extended where they were. Inhaling, rising up through the spine, and then opening forward through the heart, upward facing dog, knees down. Exhaling, belly draws back, child's pose. Let's do that one more time. And on your next inhale, coming all the way to your belly. First, let the arms come back by your side body and turn the head to one side. Witness the next breath interacting with the floor as the belly expands, and I hope that you feel it in your low back also. Now exhaling, activate the glutes down, pelvic triangle anchoring into the earth. Rotate the shoulder heads down and back for jet airplane arms. First, fingertips are tenting on the floor, shoulder heads anchored with the upper arms squeezing. And just hanging out here has its own wonderful activation of the upper and mid back. We're going to add on, by the next inhale, extending the spine, allowing your head and perhaps chest to come a little off the floor. Exhaling, returning. Inhaling, extending through the spine, and releasing the hands off the floor, reaching towards the wall behind. Feel that wonderful engagement between the shoulder blades and in that upper and mid back. Exhaling, return. And we'll do one more, extending through the spine, then the arms. If you'd like to add flight of the legs, reaching for the wall behind you, not the ceiling. And if it bothers the back at all, re-anchoring the legs. Exhaling, release, and turn your head to the other side. Connecting the belly to the earth with breath again. Anchoring the pelvis for support as you move your hands towards the outside of the chest for our cobra pose. But I want you to lift your hands a moment and just sort of flap those elbow wings in towards the ribs and allow them to come out. And when you feel that wonderful squeeze in, that activation of your lat muscles, then plant the hands. Inhaling, cobra, draw the heart forward. Exhaling, return. It might be a little lift off the floor. You might be adding some engagement of the hands for a little king cobra. but always anchoring through the pelvis and thigh bones and always drawing the heart forward. We don't want to be pressing back, or that just shortens the spine, and yoga is all about decompressing. Let's do one more. Inhale, and on your exhale, pressing back either to child's pose or downward facing dog, keeping those glutes contracted as you make the transition. Wherever you are, joining me again in a sighing breath. It says, I am well, I am whole. There's nothing to worry about or accomplish, just here on my mat. Slowly walking your hands back to your feet, into your ragdoll, and that's with the knees bent, head just hanging. Invitation to make organic movements, perhaps sweeping the area around the feet as you kind of rotate the hips in space. Or perhaps you prefer hands wrapped about opposite bicep. This can be a challenging position to breathe, so please be willful and intentional. Emptying, emptying. Filling your entire torso with breath. And on your next inhale, drop the butt and sweep up. Exhaling, prayer hands. Close your eyes, tune in. Notice what you've created with your practice. Is there any particular intention you'd like to take with you into life off the mat today? Thank you so much for joining me here. Namaste.